I just don't understand how someone could do this, especially family. My own mother, the woman who gave birth to me, looked me dead in the eye and told me, "I know you paid off the $680,000 mortgage, but we're gifting the house to your brother." Can you even imagine, after everything I did, every sacrifice I made, to be utterly betrayed like that? I still replay her words in my head, over and over, trying to find some logic, some justification, but there's none. Tell me, would you have stood by and let that happen to you? Because I certainly didn't. Let me take you back to the beginning, to a time when I truly believed my family loved and appreciated me. I'm the older sister by about 5 years, and I've always been the responsible one, the one who planned, who saved, looked out for everyone. My brother, Mark, was always the charmer, the golden boy, but also, let's be honest, a bit of a screw-up. He floated from job to job, never really committing to anything, and was constantly in some kind of financial pickle. My parents, bless their hearts, always enabled him. They loved him fiercely, and while I understood that, it often came at my expense. Our family home was a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood, nothing extravagant, but it held a lifetime of memories. My parents had bought it when I was just a toddler, and it was the only home I'd ever known. They'd always talked about how it would stay in the family, passed down through generations. I always assumed that meant it would be a shared asset, or perhaps, given my responsible nature, something I'd eventually take over. My parents were never particularly good with money. My dad was a blue-collar worker, and my mom stayed at home when we were kids, eventually taking on a part-time job as a receptionist. They lived paycheck to paycheck for most of their lives, and the mortgage on the house was a constant burden. I remember hearing them argue about bills, about how they'd make ends meet. It instilled in me a deep-seated desire for financial stability. I worked hard in school, got into a good university, and studied something practical accounting. My parents were proud, but I largely funded my own education with scholarships and part-time jobs. Mark, on the other hand, barely scraped through high school and opted for a gap year that turned into 3 years of working odd jobs and living at home, contributing next to nothing. After I graduated and landed a well-paying job at a reputable firm, I started saving aggressively. My goal was always to be financially independent, but also, in the back of my mind, I wanted to help my parents. I saw how much they struggled, and I wanted to ease their burden. One evening, about 10 years ago, my parents called me over for dinner. They looked grim. My dad, with a sigh, explained that they were facing some serious financial difficulties. My mom had just lost her job due to company downsizing, and my dad's health wasn't what it used to be, meaning he was considering early retirement. The biggest worry, they said, was the house. They were struggling to make the mortgage payments, and the bank was getting aggressive. They even mentioned the dreaded foreclosure word. My heart sank. This house wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was our history. I didn't hesitate. I told them I would help. I had a substantial amount saved up, enough to cover several years of their mortgage payments. But I didn't want to just patch things up. I wanted to solve the problem permanently. I proposed a plan. I would pay off the remaining mortgage in full. It was a staggering amount, $680,000 at the time, but I had worked tirelessly and lived frugally. My parents were flabbergasted, emotional, and incredibly grateful. They hugged me, thanked me profusely, and my dad even shed a tear. My mom kept saying I was their angel, their savior. We drew up a simple agreement, just between us, stating that I would pay off the mortgage, and in return, I would have a significant stake in the house, an agreement that it would eventually be mine, or at the very least, a substantial portion of the sale proceeds if it were ever sold. This wasn't a formal legal document, just a handwritten note signed by all 3 of us, reflecting our understanding and trust. It felt sufficient at the time. They were my parents, after all. Over the next few months, I transferred the funds, saw the mortgage statement change to a beautiful 0 balance, and felt an immense sense of accomplishment. My parents were overjoyed, free from the crushing debt. They thanked me every chance they got. My relationship with them, already good, seemed to deepen. I continued to live independently, but I visited frequently helped with household repairs, and even contributed to property taxes and maintenance. Mark was, of course, aware of what I had done. He was living in another city by then, still bouncing between jobs, always with a new get-rich-quick scheme. He'd call occasionally, full of congratulations and thanks, even joking that I was the reason he could still visit home without worrying about my parents losing it. I truly believed we were all on the same page, a united family. Years passed. My parents enjoyed their debt, free retirement, traveling a bit, pursuing hobbies. I continued to build my career and my own financial security. The house remained a central hub for our family gatherings. I always assumed that when the time came, the house would either be transferred to me, or if they needed to sell it, I would get back my initial investment plus a fair share of the appreciation. This was the unspoken, yet deeply understood agreement. My parents never contradicted this assumption. In fact, they often made comments like, "This will be yours one day," or "You've secured this home for the family." These comments solidified my belief. Then, about 6 months ago, my dad's health took a turn for the worse. It wasn't immediate, but a slow decline. We all rallied around him. Mark even moved back home to help out, though his help mostly consisted of eating my mom's cooking and watching TV. I was there constantly, coordinating doctor's appointments, helping with finances, and providing emotional support. It was a difficult time, watching my strong father fade. He passed away peacefully in his sleep about 2 months ago. His death was heartbreaking, and the family was naturally grieving. During this period, I thought, surely, now, more than ever, my mother would appreciate my stability and my commitment to the family home. A few weeks after the funeral, my mom asked me to come over. She said she needed to talk to me about something important. I expected it to be about funeral arrangements, or perhaps how she planned to manage without my dad, maybe even about the house and its future. What followed, however, blindsided me. She sat me down. Looking unusually stern, "Sweetheart," she began, "your father and I made some decisions about the house a while back. He wanted to make sure everything was taken care of for Mark." My stomach dropped. I had a terrible premonition. She continued, "We've decided to gift the house to Mark. It's done. The paperwork is finalized." I stared at her, utterly speechless. I must have looked like a fish out of water, gasping for air. "What are you talking about, Mom?" I finally managed to croak. The house I paid off. The house we had an agreement about." That's when she gave me that cold, unforgettable line. "I know you paid off the $680,000 mortgage, but we're gifting the house to your brother." Her voice was flat, devoid of emotion, as if she were reading from a script. She then tried to explain, her voice taking on a slightly defensive tone. "Mark needs it more. He's never been as stable as you. He needs a fresh start, a base. You're doing so well, you don't need another house. And besides, it was always your dad's wish for Mark to have a leg up." My head was spinning. Everything felt surreal. I remembered our handwritten agreement, the countless conversations, the implicit trust. "But Mom," I pleaded, "what about our agreement? What about my investment? That was nearly $700,000. I secured this house for you. I prevented foreclosure." She waved her hand dismissively. "That was just a gesture of goodwill, honey. You helped us out, and we were grateful. But family helps family, right? It wasn't a business transaction." My jaw literally dropped. Not a business transaction. This was nearly $750,000. My hard-earned money. It wasn't a casual loan. It was the entire remaining mortgage. I tried to appeal to her sense of fairness. "So, I just lose all that money. Mark gets a free house, a $680,000 asset, because he's less stable, and I, who was stable and responsible, get nothing but a pat on the back." She just shrugged, a small, almost imperceptible shrug that felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "Well, you don't lose it. You just don't get the house. You're set for life anyway, you have your own place." It was then that I saw the true colors, the blatant favoritism, the utter disregard for my sacrifice. My brother, Mark, who never lifted a finger, never saved a dime, was being handed a fully paid off house, while I, who poured my life savings into it, was being cast aside. I stood up, my hands trembling. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have accepted this gross injustice? Would you have walked away and let your brother get away with it? Or would you have fought for what was rightfully yours? Seriously, hit pause, type it out, and let me know your immediate reaction, because I was beyond furious. I looked at my mother, a woman who suddenly felt like a stranger. The anger and hurt were overwhelming. Mom, this is theft. You are essentially stealing $680,000 from me and handing it to Mark. This is not okay, she bristled. Don't you dare accuse me of theft. We're your parents. We can do what we want with our house. It stopped being solely your house the moment I paid off the mortgage. I retorted, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. We had an agreement. I have the records. I have the bank statements. I have the handwritten note. She scoffed. A little note. That's not legally binding, honey. You were just being generous. That was the final straw. Generous. I practically yelled. Generous with almost $1 million, so you could give it to your freeloading son. I walked out of that house, slamming the door behind me. My mind was racing. How could they do this? How could my own mother betray me so utterly? I knew I couldn't let this stand. This wasn't just about the money. It was about the principle, about the years of being taken for granted, about the blatant favoritism. I went straight to a lawyer, a family friend who specialized in property law. I laid out the entire story, showed him the bank statements, the proof of payment, even the handwritten note, albeit informally drafted. He listened intently, shaking his head at intervals. This is a tough one, he said, but you definitely have a case. The handwritten agreement, while not a formal contract, shows intent. And the clear financial contribution, preventing foreclosure, strengthens your claim. This is unjust enrichment, pure and simple. He advised me to send a formal demand letter to my mother and Mark, outlining my investment and demanding either compensation for the full amount plus a reasonable share of the property's appreciation or the transfer of ownership to me. He also warned me that this would likely destroy my relationship with my family, or what was left of it. I told him it was already destroyed. What relationship could there be when trust was so completely shattered? The letter was sent. The reaction was exactly as I expected. Outrage. My mother called me, screaming, accusing me of being greedy, heartless, of trying to steal from my own brother. Mark called too, not screaming, but whining, saying I was ruining his life, that he finally had a chance to get ahead, and I was taking it away from him. He had the audacity to say, "You have plenty of money. Why do you need this house too?" My lawyer advised me not to engage, to let him handle all communication. My mother, being stubborn, initially refused to budge. She insisted the house was a gift to Mark, and there was nothing I could do, but my lawyer was relentless. He pointed out the potential for a very public, very costly lawsuit. He laid out the evidence clearly, the $680,000 payment, the documented financial distress of my parents at the time, the clear benefit to them, and the implied agreement. He explained that a judge would likely see through their attempt to disinherit me after I saved their home. The threat of legal action, the potential for forced sale, and the legal fees started to wear them down. After weeks of back and forth, they finally caved. My mother, through her own lawyer, offered a settlement. They wouldn't transfer the house to me, but they would pay me back my original $680,000, plus a significant portion of the house's appreciation since I paid it off, bringing the total compensation to just over $900,000. It wasn't the house, but it was fair, and it was justice. I agreed. I had no desire to live in a house that was tainted by such betrayal. The settlement was finalized, and the money was transferred to my account. It was a bittersweet victory. I got my money back, and then some. but at the cost of my family. My relationship with my mother is irreparable. She still sees me as the villain, the greedy child who took away her gift to her favorite son. Mark, of course, resents me deeply, seeing me as the reason he almost lost his free ride. I haven't spoken to either of them since, beyond what was necessary through legal channels. It hurts, more than I care to admit, to lose my family over money, but it was never just about the money. It was about respect, about fairness, about being seen and valued. I now live in a beautiful house that I purchased on my own, with no strings attached, no hidden agendas. I'm financially secure, and I've learned a harsh lesson about family dynamics and the importance of formalizing agreements, even with those you trust the most. It taught me that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most, and that protecting yourself, even from family, is sometimes necessary. It was a painful journey, but I emerged stronger and wiser. So that's my story, a tale of betrayal, injustice, and ultimately a fight for what was right. If you were on my side, please like this video. It would mean a lot to me. Subscribe for more stories like this, where I share my experiences and navigate complexities of life, and most importantly, share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. Do you think I did the right thing? Was I too harsh? I want to hear what you think. I'll see you all in the next story.